Let's get Simon Marks in on the conversation there. Simon, we've got so much to unpack here, but I want to kick off with the China issue because I was a little bit surprised in this debate because foreign policy to a large extent wasn't supposed to be one of the topics in this debate. And yet very quickly, China came up, obviously through the blame game from President Trump with the topic on COVID, and then segueing into national security, and finally getting Biden's at least position on China. It was interesting that he blamed Trump for cozying up to what he called thugs, Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin. And I thought I heard Xi Jinping in that as well. Break it all down for us in terms of the big issue with China here. And really, does it matter to the American voters?
Well, look, I think there's certainly no doubt, Adam, that China featured prominently in this debate. And I think we should say, first of all, this was a real debate, unlike what we witnessed several weeks ago. I mean, at least there was substantive conversation, and it was superbly moderated by Kristen Welker, who I think deserves an enormous amount of credit for the way she handled the last 95 minutes or so. I mean, China came up in a number of different areas. First of all, of course, because President Trump blamed China for COVID-19. He said, I'm not to blame for it. Joe's not to blame for it. Although for the first time, he did say that he absolutely accepts responsibility for what has happened in the United States as a result of the pandemic arriving here. He sidestepped an attempt by Kristen Welker to pin him down and explain exactly what he means when he says China is going to pay a price for COVID-19. We got no detail from him on that. But then, of course, Donald Trump made sure that the conversation switched very rapidly to these allegations that Joe Biden and his son Hunter were engaged in acts of potential corruption in China when Hunter Biden was trying to do business there. A very difficult section of the debate, that, I think, for Joe Biden, who held back from going after Donald Trump's own family and their track record of enriching themselves during the course of the last 4 years, and instead insisted that what President Trump was presenting to the American public was Russian misinformation inspired by the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. And of course, we came back to that towards the end of the debate. Then there was the issue of tariffs. President Trump often maintains on the campaign trail and in appearances at the White House that China is paying millions of dollars to the United States in tariffs. Many here argue that the president doesn't quite understand how all this works and that, in fact, those tariffs are simply being passed on to American taxpayers, as Joe Biden was saying, in the form of higher prices. And so essentially it is the American consumer paying the cost of those tariffs that the president has imposed on China. Nonetheless, the president, as you heard in that clip, definitely viewed those tariffs on China as a protectionist badge of honor and a direction in which he clearly intends to continue moving economically in order to try and bring China and other recalcitrant players, as he sees them economically, into line.
And Simon, of course, the topic that featured heavily was COVID-19, an issue that has politically hurt President Trump the most. Mr. Trump took the stage this time as someone who has been a coronavirus patient. He said he's immune and also reiterated the U.S. is, quote, rounding the corner, while his rival Biden tore him him for, quote, not having a plan. Here's that exchange.
They say I'm immune, whether it's 4 months or a lifetime. Nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators, we're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month, distributing them all over the world. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
The president thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe. I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan.
Simon, this is a topic that we covered in the first debate. We've heard it throughout the whole campaign trail. I mean, did we learn anything new from this debate? And as in terms of Mr. Trump's answers, do you think he gave a better answer for the pandemic, than how he did during the first debate?
Well, I think you heard a radically different vision of where America is going to go from here on COVID-19 from these two candidates. Joe Biden is the candidate of the national plan. You heard him there talking about it. He wants to order people to wear face masks whenever they go out in public. He's talking about increasing America's testing and track and trace capacity. He's also talking about introducing national standards, for example, on school reopenings. He says schools need money in order to improve their ventilation systems, improve sanitation, separate people out. You heard an impassioned debate about the cost of plexiglass screens that restaurants are going to have to implement and enforce as they seek to get back to some semblance of normal business. Joe Biden is in favor of them. Donald Trump made it apparent that he thought that they were a costly burden on small businesses like those in the hospitality sector and would put many of those businesses out of business. So the difference between these two candidates on display to the American public is Joe Biden's talking about a national plan. Donald Trump still doesn't actually think one is needed and that it can be left up to the individual states to calibrate their response to this.
Simon, let's get to another big issue that was discussed, and that is the issue of national security. I mean, the two presidential candidates also sparred on that issue of alleged foreign interference, of which more evidence has come to light thanks to the FBI just yesterday in the upcoming presidential election, a day after, of course, the U.S. officials, the FBI directors and Director of National Intelligence said that, Iran and Russia, to a lesser extent, in their words, were co-conspirators in terms of meddling, with the elections and the registration data. Let's have a listen.
Any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty. That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with American sovereignty.
I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know, maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
Well, I'm not sure if those accusations are true, and I suppose we'll have to wait to get to the bottom of that. But I'm not sure what that has to do with, of course, Iran, potentially, the Russia and China meddling with the U.S. elections there, Simon. I mean, I think he took any opportunity there to just bring up these allegations of corruption from the Biden family at any opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, we know, Adam, that was definitely something that Donald Trump came to this debate wanting to talk about. But we also know that Donald Trump has had precious little to say publicly over the last 4 years, going all the way back to 2016, about Russian interference in the American election. He's spoken about China being a greater threat in terms of election security than Russia. And of course, we know earlier this week, Iran was being accused by the intelligence agencies here of culpability possibility in that regard as well. The message from Joe Biden very clear. If he becomes president, we will be returning in this country to a more normal approach to national security, seeing those cyber attacks as an attack on American sovereignty. Donald Trump either didn't want to talk about that issue or wanted to use it as an opportunity to segue immediately to Joe Biden's business dealings in China and Ukraine. So I think more broadly, this was a much more substantive conversation than we had expected, given the experience of the first debate, and voters had an opportunity to take something away from this that they didn't get the chance to see in debate number one. But on that particular issue, Donald Trump wasn't going to be drawn.